Michelle Rempel Garner exposed the flip-flop Mark Carney once called China Canada's biggest threat. Now he's signing deals with Beijing. No jobs, no clarity, no trust. You see for yourself what happened next.
During the leadership race, Mark Carney was saying that the biggest threat to Canada was China. Today he signed, and yesterday he signed a bunch of deals with China. How do you see that two speaking both sides of his mouth, maybe some people might say?
Well, my party leader, Conservative Party leader Pierre Poilievre, put out a strong statement on that earlier today. I direct your attention to that. And I'll just reemphasize a point that he made, which is what you just said. You know, in less than a year ago, Mark Carney said that the biggest threat to Canadian security was China. And today we have him trying to do business with them, and frankly, without delivering any auto sector jobs. So it's concerning.
Could that endanger our relationship with the United States?
You know, I think at this particular moment, Canadians need to hear from the Liberal government what they're going to do to protect Canadian sovereignty writ large, both from an economic perspective, protecting Canadian jobs, removing regulations that have prevented the development of Canada's energy sector, as well as like some low-hanging fruit, things like implementing the foreign agent registry, addressing issues like, you know, regime police stations operating in major Canadian cities. So I think Mr. Carney has a lot of answers to give to the Canadian public, and again, I'm proud of our party leader's response to that particular comment.
This month marks 20 years since the Harper government's first electoral win. How do you think about that election? What has changed in Canada since then, and what's changed in your party?
Well, I feel old. No, I'm serious. I have to be somewhat comical because you get to a point in your life where you think something happened a couple of years ago and you're like, whoa, no, that was 20 years ago and I still have that blazer in my closet. In all seriousness, you know, at the end of 2015, Canada was on a trajectory where our per capita GDP growth, or the capacity for people to, you know, grow their prosperity, was matched evenly in line within the United States. After a decade of Liberal government, we've seen that delta massively widen. We've seen the Liberal government undertake policies which have divided the country, pitted one region against each other, pitted different demographic groups in the country against each other, implemented a lot of something that they call post-nationalist policy, which has eroded the concept of a Canadian national identity. And I think what that's resulted in is an entire generation of people who don't see the promise of Canada anymore after a decade of Liberal government. I had the opportunity over the holidays to actually reflect on that with some of my family. Like, you know, you go through this thought exercise of what would have happened if it had been a Conservative government over the last decade. I don't think we'd see national unity crisis right now. I think our GDP growth would have been more in alignment with the United States because we wouldn't have put in place all of these regulations that stymied the energy sector. We wouldn't have had mass uncontrolled immigration that has led to social tension and strain on our social welfare system. And I think it's a very important what-if questions for Canadians to ponder as they think about who their next government is going to be. And on that note, I'm very encouraged to see that the Conservative Party is within the margin of error, neck and neck with the Liberals, and that our party leader, Pierre Poilievre, is still talking about the things that cohort of people care about: affordability, making sure that people are safe in Canada, that there's jobs for youth, and you know, that's what we're going to focus on in the upcoming session. It's why I'm here today, not just opposing Liberal policy, but also proposing policy.
Leadership vote, how do you convince people that are still on the fence about Pierre Poilievre?
Well, I have to say, I support Pierre Poilievre. You know, and you know, I can say this from a position of, you know, almost reform, right? Because I didn't support him in the leadership. But I think what's impressed me about Pierre, especially over the pressure of the last couple of years, is that he has steadfastly, in spite of enormous pressure, focused on issues that, like, a lot of people in my community really care about: cost of living, rent, crime, immigration. And to do that under enormous pressure from virtually every group across the country telling him otherwise, I think that shows leadership in and of itself. And he's, I think that we have the opportunity to build on our voter coalition going forward. So, you know, I'm an Alberta MP, I'm a Calgary MP, I'm excited to welcome our delegates to the city. We haven't had a convention there in over a decade, speaking about being old. Feels like 5 minutes ago. We're going to have great discussion, and, you know, I'll certainly be showing my support.